friends, and welcome to Ariel's Twilight Years. How to be a really old model. I'm making an apple and blackberry cobbler this week. The reason I'm doing this is because it's autumn, and also because I realised that I'm not cooking meals very much anymore. I'm not cooking for me and my husband Howell very often. He is cooking for us more often, and we are eating out a lot more, and we are buying takeaways and ready meals a lot more. And the reason for this is that although I very much like cooking, I'm too busy. I am literally physically too busy most days to have time to cook. And I wanted to talk about that because I'm 45. I work in a physical profession. I'm a professional model. That's the main thing I do with my time. And I would not have expected to be this busy at my age. At the beginning of my career, that would have seemed inconceivable. So I wanted to do an update about how much I earn, because the reason I have so little time is because I've got busier, which honestly I didn't think would be possible because I already thought I was working at capacity. So what I have managed to do over the last couple of years since the pandemic started is I've started shooting more of my own content. And at first I did that in quite a haphazard way because I wasn't quite sure how to do it. I wasn't sure how best to be productive. I didn't know what would really sell. So over the last 2 years, I have become more systematic. So now I have a proper weekly schedule of updates. I shoot a certain amount of content to go on my Clips for Sale and many vid stores. My schedule is 6 updates a week on each of those. It's the same video on each, thank God. So I only have to make 6 videos a week. But because I also tour, I have to cover shooting extra content for the weeks I'm away from home, where sometimes I can't shoot any content at all. So although I need 6 updates a week, I try to shoot more like 10 to cover the time when I'm on holiday or doing something that doesn't allow me to produce content. I'm also shooting 14 plus updates a week for my OnlyFans and fan sites. Again, to cover time when I can't shoot OnlyFans content, I try to shoot more than I need on the weeks when I'm at home. And I have gradually become more organised at doing this. The day before, I put all my outfits out for the next day. I read my scripts, I write on my whiteboard so I've got prompts for the next day. And I know the first time I made a video about how much an internet model like me can earn, I made this video back in the first one at maybe 2017 or 2018, and I was making about £70,000 a year. And I was really grateful for that. I was really impressed that it was possible because I'd been stuck on to like 40 to 50,000 a year for a very long time, like a decade. And starting to shoot some of my own content had increased my income a lot. So then I made an updated video in 2020 when I had started working more from home. I'd started self-producing more, and I was up to, I think, about £110,000, which seemed like a supernaturally high income to be generating. I remember back in my 2017 video, I said I can imagine some models might make it up to 100,000 a year, but I can't imagine very many people getting higher. And I just got my tax calculations back from my accountant last week for the tax year 2021 to 2022, and I'd made just over £200,000 in the year. So I just did a little sanity check. I checked what I've made in the last 12 months, so that's slightly later than the last tax year. So I looked at September to September 2021 to 2022, and indeed it is up just above £200,000 in this year as well. So the first thing I want to say is thank you to anyone who's contributed to that. I'm just talking about my modelling income at this point. I'm not talking about any of the other stuff I do. So I just want to say thank you so much to anyone who supports my modelling work in one way or another, because making that amount of money is not something I ever expected in my life. Ever. That's more money than my dad, who I consider to have a really good, important, scary job. That's more money than anyone in my peer group when I was younger made, and I don't think I will ever take it for granted at all. I mean, it seems kind of impossible. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is, if you are a model near the beginning of your career, I always am thinking of you when I make these videos, because I hope it will just give you confidence to stick with this job. The first few years is not like this for most of us. It's not easy at all, and all the work you get, you have to chase. No one really comes to you. And it's only later in your career that people start coming to you. So in terms of advertising, I really do very little of it now, but at the beginning of my career, it was the main thing I did. And I remember it was really tiring and very discouraging because people often just said no. So now I am in this very strange situation of being right up in the top 1% of what people earn in this country. My corporation tax bill alone for the tax year 2021 to 2022 is £27,000, which is the average salary in the UK. So I like to think that my corporation tax alone, that's not the only tax I pay, it's not the only income tax I pay, but that would pay a nurse's salary for a year. And that makes me so happy, because I know from writing a couple of articles about my job and from putting videos up on YouTube, I know from time to time I get these furious, hateful comments from people who can't stand it that professional models exist making money from getting naked. And they often say things like, well, enjoy your money while it lasts, because it won't last. And I think it probably won't last until I'm 70, but it doesn't have to last, does it? If we're capable of making this much for a few years in the peak of our career, the things you can do with that money will make you secure into later life. So they can shut up. That's one thing I want to say. And two, the other thing I get whenever I publish stuff about being a nude model is, oh, well, you're just basically a parasite, you're not contributing anything to society, it's a neoliberal grift, someone said. I think, frankly, it doesn't matter what the fuck you think of my content. If I'm managing to pay all on my own an NHS nurse's salary every year, it doesn't matter how insubstantial my product is. I don't give a damn. The money I am generating and putting into the country through my taxes is significant, and it doesn't matter whether my job is frivolous or whether I myself am saving lives, which I probably am not, to be honest. The contribution of me and models who do work like me, if we're anywhere near as successful as I have been, or more successful than I have been, we are contributing, if only in our tax income. Now, you may think, why do I just not have a cook and some housekeepers? Because one thing I have noticed as I've started to earn more money, my house is less tidy, and I would once have associated that with being a bit useless, but now I'm trying to look at my less tidy house and see it as evidence of my commercial professional success, because actually it doesn't make sense to spend 2 mornings a week deep cleaning my house when I could be earning money, because I won't be able to earn that money forever. But the house will still be here, needing to be dusted, I'm quite sure. So I can dust it in the future. So why am I not living a more glamorous existence? Well, the reason is that in order to get hold of all the money I'm earning, I would have to pay a really big tax penalty on it. And I am all for paying tax fairly, but because I don't think I will continue to earn like this, because I don't think it will be physically possible for me to keep this pace up, I would rather not pay a massive tax penalty. I'd rather keep money in my account and use it to pay my salary in the future when I'm not earning as much. I'd rather do that. So as a result, I'm going to be honest with you, why not? I'm going to be really frank. I'm on a pretty normal kind of salary. I pay myself a dividend from my company, which is where all my modelling money is, and I pay myself a salary. and the salary is like £12,000 a year, and I pay myself a dividend of about 25. So I am living on about £37,000 a year. So there's not money, unless I want to pay like 60% tax, there is not money to pay a whole load of staff. And also, I don't want them. I don't want them because they get in the way of me shooting, and then I wouldn't make as much money, and then I would panic. Because one thing I have discovered about myself in recent years, I was properly diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, and I realised that although that is very bad in many ways for me and for other people who have it, as it happens, the way it manifests in me, it does make it so that I obsess very easily about making sure that I've been productive in each week and not stopping until I've been productive enough. So that has actually contributed to a great deal of stress, but also a great deal of achievement, because I just can't let things go. And so I've kind of monetized, perhaps weaponized that a little bit. So as a result, I do still have a pretty normal lifestyle. It's more lavish than it was. I go out to more expensive restaurants than I used to, and I treat my friends to things rather than going Dutch, and I really love that. But the main thing that has changed in how I spend money is actually something that I really wanted to talk about, and this is the reason I decided to make this video. The thing that has changed is back when I was making £40,000 to £50,000 a year, I didn't have any passive income at all, so everything I made was through going out to work with photographers. I've talked about this before, and it makes you very vulnerable, because you need, at the beginning of each year, you look at your empty diary and you need about 300 photographers to book you to make a decent amount of money for the year. And so I found it extremely hard to take time off, and honestly, I still find it very hard to take time off. I probably, if I wasn't married to someone who insisted, I probably still wouldn't take much time off. I'm very grateful for Howell for stepping in and I suppose tempering my work ethic a bit, because I think I might well be in a much less good physical and mental state if I hadn't learned to take some time off work. Anyway, so I do take some time off work, but I still find it quite difficult. But what I've become better at, and this is fantastic, and I really recommend to you, if you are a model who's beginning to see your trajectory rising professionally and financially, I've started taking time off things that immediately earn me money in order to do things that I hope will advance my career in the long term. So for me, that has been, for example, going to London and meeting people who I hope will be able to help me learn about publishing, learn how to promote my book. I'm hoping that having these meetings with people will mean that as a first-time author, I don't make quite so many mistakes that first-time authors would often make, because I'm hopefully going to be a bit better informed. So for example, at the end of a tour where I've been touring the southeast of England, I might well take a day off modelling in order to go and meet people who can teach me stuff. And it costs me money in terms of accommodation and in terms of taking people out for meals, because if they're giving me information, I can't be asking them to pay for the meal too. And I couldn't possibly have justified that back in the first 10 years of my career. I really couldn't. It would have made me panic, because I'd have thought, well, I'm spending all the money that I've just earned on this tour and I can't afford that, I'm going home with less. But because now I am making more money than I need right now to live on, I feel like I can afford to do that, to take a hit on how much money I make now, in the hope that I will be speculating to accumulate not necessarily more money, but professional success in the future. That's what my hope is. And if it doesn't come off, that's okay as well, because I'm not gambling money that I don't have. This is just a professional expense. So my expenses have gone up a little because I'm trying to do more with my business than simply go out, model, earn money from modelling, and come home and put all the money in the bank. And it feels really good, because it feels like getting some control back over where my career goes, Whereas for the early years of my career, I just went where there was money to pay me for my modelling services, and that meant I didn't have that much control over what I did. I mean, there was stuff I didn't do because I didn't want to, and there was stuff I prioritised because I really did want to do it, but I did have to find 300 plus paying jobs a year, and I had to go out and find them, and it didn't leave me a whole load of resources left over for speculating, going to meet people in the hope that it might lead on to something interesting. And it is a huge privilege to be in that situation. I'm massively grateful to have got there. And the other thing I do now, which I wouldn't have done in the past, is I sometimes take time off at the end of tours just to go and see friends, because I'm aware that working as hard as I am now, there's not much slack in my system, and it's really easy to not prioritise seeing friends and seeing people you love and doing things that you love. So I have become better at doing that, because I think if £200,000 a year doesn't make me feel safe enough to take time off to see my friends, no amount of money ever will. That said, clearly I'm not a millionaire, and I'm not going to become a millionaire, I don't think. It's not like these are riches beyond anyone's wildest dreams. It's just far more commercial success than I was ever expecting. And I thought it was worth making an updated video just to say, hang on in there if you are a newer model. I don't by any means believe I'm the most successful model in the UK. I think there are plenty of us making a similar amount or more than me. So there's no reason at all why it shouldn't be you. I would say, as always, there is no magic bullet for making this happen. The thing I have plenty of is self-discipline / obsessive compulsive disorder, I don't know. It really has been a question, for me at least, of just being as organised as I can and working as hard as I can and being as efficient as I can and delivering what I've promised as fast as I can. Really, that's all I've been doing. I don't think I have been this visionary. I don't think I've reimagined the modelling world or anything like that. I've just worked hard, and I have worked consistently hard. So I hope you can do the same if you're watching this. I also wanted to make this video to say, if you are on that trajectory and you are noticing that your income is going up, first of all, congratulations, well done. It doesn't ever happen by accident, I don't think, so congratulations to you. But just make sure, and this is taking some advice from The Millionaire Next Door, which is a book who, the author's name escapes me now. He says that the majority of people who start earning more start spending more, and so they actually never really get any more financially secure because their lifestyle just becomes more and more lavish. So I would like to encourage you, because I certainly have seen this happen to some models, I would encourage you to put as much money as you possibly can aside. Like, that is what I'm doing. And I would encourage you to be very cautious about spending money on things that don't have lasting value. Holidays and first class flights and nice shoes, they are important. Like, they're important if they make you happy, but they're not the only important thing. Just make sure you're putting money aside, investing it in stuff that you understand. For me, it's property, but there are many, many, many other investment classes you can choose. And feel proud of yourselves, because I do feel proud of myself. And I didn't really realise how proud until I saw some of the horrible comments I received when I started writing articles about being a model. Because as I saw this just dross coming in from people who clearly cannot stand the fact that we exist and are successful, I just thought, you have absolutely no idea the security that we nude models are giving to ourselves and our partners and our families. And if you choose not to see the value in that, then I'm afraid you're being wantonly ignorant, and it's not my job to try to change your mind. So be bloody proud, whether you are earning 20,000 a year or 60,000 a year or 500,000 a year. Making that on your own without a whole team of employees doing your bidding, then you should be bloody proud. You should be bloody proud every day, and I am. But it's time now for me to cosplay being a trad wife. I'm going to make an apple and blackberry cobbler just to remind my husband that I do have wife skills as well as earning ability. Thank you for listening. As always, it's very uncomfortable to talk about it. I don't feel comfortable talking about money, and I'm scared that people will think I'm just boasting. But I'm also aware of how incredibly useful it would have been for me to see a video like this when I was a panicky 27-year-old who didn't really know what a model's trajectory was likely to be. So it's for you. Thanks as always for listening. Please like, subscribe, and I will be back with more information about myself, my career, my book, my relationships, and all those other wonderful things that I have planned. But first, apple and blackberry cobbler. Thanks for listening. Bye!